Welcome to The Drive, your commute-sized podcast powered by the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce and ITA Group. In the time it takes to get across the metro, you'll gain fresh insights from Iowa's top leaders, CEOs, innovators, and changemakers who are shaping the future of business. I'm your host, Catherine Harrington, and each week we'll explore leadership, loyalty, and the big ideas that keep our region moving forward. All right, everybody, thank you so much for being on the Drive podcast powered by the West Des Moines Chamber and ITA Group. And today we have Ryan Moffatt. Ryan is Community and Economic Development Director for the City of West Des Moines. So thank you, Ryan, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Catherine.
I'm so excited. We had the mayor just the other week. It was a lot of fun. We showed off our fun outfits with he's got the mayor, outfit with his lining, right? And I've got a big K on the back of my outfit. So anyway, we had a lot of fun.
He brings the energy, doesn't he?
He does. Well, you do too. How long have you been in this role? Remind me.
About 2.5 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. So that's gone fast.
It has gone really fast, yeah. They keep me busy there too, so time flies.
Yes, they do. Well, we'll talk about that today, so I'm so excited. Okay, so tell us, what does an economic development director do, and what do you do in particular? What's your day-to-day look like?
So we oversee a department that basically recruits and attracts businesses to the city of West Des Moines first and foremost, but pretty diverse role. I mean, it's everything from giving a tour one day to groups that might be interested in building in the community to being immersed in the spreadsheets and negotiating financial deals the next. So pretty broad spectrum. I really divide economic development into thirds.
Okay.
And so I define that really, 1/3 really is that business attraction and retention for the businesses that we've already got. 1/3 is really kind of marketing the community. And then the other third really is the project management, the financial negotiations, the incentive piece of it as well. So pretty exciting stuff. Our department also oversees housing efforts for the city. So everything from rehab of existing housing, working on getting more affordable housing within the city.
Yeah.
We work on annexation. So again, very, very broad spectrum of what we do.
Okay. What are some of the hottest things that you hear about on a day-to-day basis from the community? I know there's a lot of talk about this, the project, that project, affordable housing, yada, yada. How would you rank some of those big
we've
topics?
got some big projects out there too. I'm sure we'll talk more about that today. So the Grand Experience, the large indoor water park and conference center, been fortunate enough to work on a project like that. Obviously, we'll talk about Valley West Mall today too. And really, I think going forward, it's probably going to be about 60% development on the fringe of the city, 40% redevelopment. We are, a maturing community at this point, and obviously we want to make sure that we, take a look at the areas that have been developed for quite some time and make sure that they stay, non-obsolete and make sure they're what the community is looking for still. So on the housing front, I mean, we hear a lot about affordable housing.
Yeah.
And maybe the mayor touched on that a little bit too, but we often hear that people would love to live in West Des Moines of all different ages and all different types, but sometimes just the way housing prices have gone, it becomes a little bit more challenging. So we do what we can to gap finance projects and look at different strategies to keep the housing costs down.
Now, how do you decide as a team, that gap financing? How do you decide what you will support with that gap financing? What does that look like, I guess?
Yeah, and some of it I think is political. I mean, there's a tolerance for what can be supported and what's got the votes. I mean, that's something that we always have to live within. But quite honestly, we look to leverage other programs that the state may have available too. So really, our dollars at the city level are really kind of the last source in to the project. And so whether it's workforce housing tax credits, the low-income housing tax credit, there's a whole plethora of programs out there that we look to utilize. And I think the other thing too that we look to do is make sure that it's not just always homogenous, not just apartments maybe that we're looking at, but how do we do things like down payment assistance? That's a program that we've got available in Valley Junction to help first-time homebuyers get a little bit of a foothold into the market. The rehab of existing housing product. We do a lot of that in the Valley Junction area too. We've looked at, can we buy lots basically and kind of subsidize the cost of new construction? So not just rental options, but owner-occupied options at a more affordable price point as well.
And those two programs in Valley Junction have been really popular, right?
Very successful. In fact, we're having discussions now about how we can roll that out to some other older parts of the community as well.
Okay, I love it. So what do you love personally most about shaping this community? What really strikes to your heart?
It's just a rewarding job. And obviously in government, you have good days and you have bad days, just like most professions, I'm sure. But, I think what moves me is just you really do have a big impact in helping to shape what a community looks like, everything from what we choose to spend our taxpayer dollars on, the long-range planning element. We do a fair amount of that as well. So that's just professionally rewarding. I like taking my son out and showing him, the projects that I've had a hand in that have helped shape the community. And I wish he was as interested as I am, but
maybe someday.
Maybe someday. But for now, it's kind of almost like a legacy thing. To have some pride in terms of helping really build out the community for the future.
How did you get involved in this work? It's such a niche, work, right? It seems so niche.
So I'm a city planner by trade.
Okay.
And I've just always had that interest. I remember as a kid, I grew up playing SimCity on the computer.
Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh, that's great.
I've just always been fascinated by it. I'm one of those rare people that ever since high school, I've known what I've wanted to do in life. And so, my background, I got my degree from Iowa State University in community and regional planning. And, I got into city planning. I've been there since 2003 and just kind of worked my way up the food chain, economic development. That was always kind of the holy grail of where I wanted to go in government. And been fortunate enough to get there, and I absolutely love what I do. Call it my realistic dream job, short of winning the lottery and becoming a developer myself.
Oh, wow. You found your calling in life.
I really did. And I think that helps, stir the passion a little bit too when you know that that's what you want to do. It makes some days not seem as much like work.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So true. I feel exactly the same. That's amazing. So you work with everybody, small businesses to Fortune 500 companies in West Des Moines. We have a plethora of them, right? What's one leadership or collaboration lesson that you've learned working with the small to the large organizations? What's something you've learned along the way?
I think that two things I'll bring up here today. One, in economic development, you do have to have perseverance. And so I've been a part of projects that I might have spent 5 years on and put a whole lot of effort in with a whole lot of stakeholders. And maybe market conditions changed and the project didn't go forward. And so that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes, and you've got to roll with the punches, and there'll be other projects that come down the pike. So you put a lot into a project and it might not always see the light of day. Yeah. The other thing that I would say too is let the public process play out. There's been times before where maybe I've tried to rush a project. It's a good thing for a community, but maybe there's some opposition to the project. And if I try to rush it too much, sometimes later that's one of those things where if we don't vet the public process out, it can blow up a little bit later, and we want to try to minimize that when we can. So
yeah, and I've been to city council meetings where people have stated that they don't like this or that or this road or this project. I guess how do you navigate that though? That's a really great question. Like how do you work with the public to really make sure that bring them all along?
Yeah, I mean some of that just comes with experience too, and I think in government you've got to have thick skin. Not everyone is always going to agree, with what you're wanting to do and how you're wanting to advance it. But I think that if you do have the bigger picture in mind, and you can narrate, how the project can be a good fit for the community still. Some of the best projects I've ever been involved with have been a compromise too, right? It's not just the developer's way. It's maybe not the neighbor's way entirely, but the sign of any good negotiation is you meet in the middle. And whether that's a deal that we negotiate or a project, if it's seeking zoning, sometimes that's been my experience. That's the best outcome.
Well, I remember during our 100-year anniversary for the chamber, we were doing a lot of research in our big barrels of newspaper clippings and things like that. And one of them was Jordan Creek Mall and the protests and all the people that were so against Jordan Creek Mall. And look at that jewel in our city now. If that would not have happened, can you imagine where our city would be now? Incredible.
Yeah. The mayor likes to talk about the game changers, and, that certainly was one. And there are plenty of others too that, whether it's financial, they could have been a big risk at some point. But when these projects do happen more often than not, they end up being tremendous successes. Yeah. And, just like you mentioned, you look back and you can't imagine your city without a project like that
21 years ago, Jordan Creek
and
Mall.
what that's brought to Central Iowa. Phenomenal story, success story all the way around.
So let's talk about the Recplex. That's another huge success story. And the city really gambled on that, right? It's like, I'm sure you all did your amazing research, but it's been a gem for our community and our region and the whole Midwest. Talk a little bit about the Recplex.
Yeah, and actually that's one of my most projects that I'm most excited about, just in terms of the impact that's made as well. And so that was a true public-private partnership, right? That started as an idea, gained a lot of steam over the years. There was some good corporate sponsorship of, naming rights of various things. You can go inside the building and see.
American Energy. Thank you.
American Energy Recplex, that's right. There's a lot of other names in there too that all, make that happen. It actually grew in scope in terms of from when it was first proposed. And I think now what that's doing for us, just on the tourism front, it's really kind of put us on the radar for youth sports. Some of the most popular events there are the ice skating events that are Taylor Swift themed or Disney Frozen themed. They sell out in minutes. Yeah. And so just I think the attraction that's brought, now we can look at this whole corridor along Grand Avenue. Obviously the Grand Experience project again would go just to the north of this. And that's one of the reasons as to why that project went where is going is because of the synergy that is there with the Recplex right now. And obviously we're putting a 100,000 square foot addition on, starting construction next year.
Wow.
So I think that just goes to show there's been good demand. I mean, the thing's only been built for 4 years, and for us to already expand it to that degree, it's been a success beyond our wildest dreams.
That's incredible. I know Ryan was talking about it's going to be an event center as well as another sheet of ice, so it's going to really open up
it's a
the doors to
multi-purpose
multi-purpose,
facility.
to a lot of different things. There's still fundraising, so there's still opportunities to get involved, everybody. So wanting to help, fundraise for that and help them close that gap, but that's huge. So my goodness, let's talk about West Des Moines. I have a lot of people that ask me that are not from this area, where's your downtown? What would you say to people that are like, where's the downtown of West Des Moines? And I always say there's like maybe 4 downtowns, but I don't know. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I've been impressed with West Des Moines is, what Valley Junction really is, the historic heart and soul of the community. Mm-hmm. And it would be easy to move on to, the fringe of the community where you've got a lot bigger investments happening at and kind of look past Valley Junction. But the city hasn't done that. In fact, we've got a lot of very creative programs down there that I'm proud of, that we administer basically to try to rejuvenate and revive that area even further. I'd say it's turned a great corner. I remember growing up here, it was kind of a little sleepier antique row.
Yeah.
And now you've got a true destination that people really from all over the region want to be a part of. And so I think that, first and foremost, that would be where we probably put a lot of eggs in that basket. But we've had a lot of conversations when it comes to the Valley West area with what that area could become long term.
Let's talk about that. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that really, for all purposes, could act as another downtown for us. Obviously, it's not our historic downtown, but I think when we look at that area right now, we've got the mall itself. We've got a lot of office parks around there that are suffering from higher vacancy rates. Mm-hmm. And something drastic really does have to happen to move the needle in that area. And I think when we look at around the country, we're not alone. There's plenty of other, suburban communities that also have the same kind of issues that we're dealing with too. And instead of, again, just having this monotonous office park or retail setting, how do we make this more of a neighborhood long term? Mm-hmm. And I think that means reinvestment in the infrastructure there to make it more multimodal, more pedestrian and bike friendly. Mm-hmm. It means adding green spaces to this area to make it become an area that people want to live in the future. And then Valley West itself. That's something that I spend most of my day every week on right now.
Really? Okay.
Trying to advance that cause. And so we are at I'd say the 2-yard line right now when it comes to the deal
2-yard line.
With the developer to basically take that property on, purchase it from the receiver, and then they would do a wholesale, redevelopment of the property. So demolish the existing mall property.
Demolish, is that what we're talking about, demolishing?
That's what we were talking about.
Okay.
And basically start over. It would be a walkable, mixed-use town center type concept. Mm-hmm. There'd be a lot of living opportunities there.
Nice.
I'm really excited for the public. I can't talk too much about it just yet at the time of this recording, but, some of the park-like amenities that are in this project, I think will really catch people's attention and really excite people to make them want to be a part of this when it's said and done. So it is going to be a longer term build. It's probably an 8 to 10, 12-year build out to get everything completed. It's on 60 acres. You phase development a lot of times, and things always move a little slower than you ever anticipate, but we are really excited to get this underway and really, again, just move the needle for what this area can become long term.
Okay, that's so neat. It's 12 years. So what's Grand Experience timeline? If Valley West Mall is maybe up to 12, what's Grand Experience looking like?
Timeline? Yeah, we've said 5 to 8 years for build out on that too. And I think that, right now the developers purchased the property on the south side of Grand Avenue, just directly adjacent to the Recplex. And I think you might even see development start to pop out of the ground there as soon as late in 2026. So he's going through, the review process now on a few things. Mm-hmm. Once he buys the property on the north side of Grand Avenue, there'd be some time to do design still. But I think best case now would be a hopeful groundbreaking in late 2027 on the water park project.
Okay, good. Oh, exciting. Okay, that's amazing. Well, I remember the Five Waters project being a big deal, and that's been all accomplished. Like, there's so many great projects in West Des Moines that it's like, check that box, check that box, check that box. Speaking of which, there's the new economic development plan. You want to talk a little bit about that? I'd love to hear more about that. Yeah. That's really exciting that the city is doing that.
So our last economic development strategic plan that we've had for the city was completed back in 2017. And obviously a lot has happened in the world of real estate and development since then. Post-COVID, we find ourselves in a little bit different world right now. So we thought it was an opportune time to basically look at what the next 10 years of our economic development strategy was. So we did hire a consultant called Newmark. We are engaged with them right now. We're hard at work, hoping to have that plan wrapped up by spring of 2026.
Great.
And I think, it's going to do a couple things for us. First and foremost, it's really going to guide not just our policy in terms of economic development, but what cluster industry should we be looking at? Mm-hmm. One of the things that West Des Moines is renowned for is we've got a very diverse economy. I think we can weather the storm well if one sector dips a little bit, but we're at this crossroads. I'm sure you've had guests before that have talked a lot about the effects of AI, especially on the white-collar job sector that, is so prevalent in West Des Moines. What are subsects within the economy that we've got right now that we should be looking at? Which ones are growing? Which ones are contracting? Where should we put our efforts at long term? So I think that's a piece I'm really excited about. Right. You and I have had a lot of talk about innovation zones and areas of the community that we can look at to really kind of foster that entrepreneurial spirit and increase wages, that kind of thing, bring job growth into a certain area of the city. And then on the retail and entrepreneurship front, what can we do to, we're blessed to have a very strong chamber to assist our efforts, but what can we do at the city to really help move the needle more again with our entrepreneur community as well?
I love that. That's so exciting. That's close to my heart. So I'm excited about that very, very much. So you work with Mayor Russ Trimble, Tom Haddon, our city manager, amazing humans, and our city council. Tell us what you've kind of learned through their leadership and their styles and then, your relationship with them. They're just such great leaders.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see people's different leadership styles, right? We've got a pretty diverse cast of characters that are elected officials. I'd say with the mayor, he's very politically savvy. Yeah. He brings a passion and an energy to the job that honestly is tough to parallel. And I think, with Tom Haddon, he's a very seasoned manager. He's been around the block for a long, long time. And I think that he's very calm, cool, and collected. So it's always good to get inspiration from him, too. Yeah. But I've seen, with the rest of our elected officials, too, they all care deeply about the community. It's a good mix of compassion with sometimes needing to be a little bit assertive, too, when it comes to some things out there with how we shape our community to be more business friendly. So
Yeah, I love that. Well, that's incredible. So the city has seen a lot of growth. What's one project that you're super proud of? I know we talked about a lot of projects already, but if you had to say one shining star, what would it be?
Yeah, I still come back to the Recplex just in terms of what that's done.
Love it.
And then I would, go. I'm a big historic preservation buff, and so I'd say that our work in Valley Junction, that just on a personal level is rewarding to be able to, put resources into saving a building. And you don't always do it. We had a demolition happen there in a pretty prominent building last year. We left no stone unturned to try to find the resources to save it. But at the end of the day, sometimes if you had buildings that have suffered from deferred maintenance, you can't save them all. But, it's just we don't have a whole lot of buildings of that vintage in West Des Moines, so I think we really need to work hard to save what we've got.
How can we stay competitive as attracting new companies? You mentioned different sectors that we're going to look into through the new economic development plan, but how do we stay competitive from not just our neighbors, but in the nation?
Yeah. I think we've done a really good job about being competitive on the business front. We put a lot of work into it. We are aggressive on that front. I think it's everything from, again, the business climate, the low tax rate, the infrastructure investments that we've made over the years, quality of life that we've touched on with our incredible park system and all the other assets when we go back to public-private partnerships that have helped us accomplish over the years. Yeah. It's a whole plethora of things that are out there that really create that story as to how we can compete on the economic development front. But I'll give you another example of something that we work on, too, that's pretty unique that I found in this region. We do actually work a lot with site selectors. And so, these are the folks that, represent the large companies that come in, whether it's a manufacturing plant or an office headquarters. These are kind of the cream of the crop brokers that go find the sites where they're at. So we spend, a good chunk of money basically to bring them into the community every year, get them familiar with West Des Moines, tell our story. Our consultant that's working on the economic development strategic plan, they are a site selection consultant first and foremost. And so that was very intentional in what we did too. So that's one of those things that we do to try to stand out, to get on the radar, because if you are on the radar, you're top of mind basically when they've got a prospect and they think, hey, I saw that site, that great site in West Des Moines, we should maybe take a look at that.
It's relationship building, and you spend a lot of time at that, and that's really important.
You have to. And I think that, economic development is not a role or a business that you can do through a web conference or over emails. It still is very relationship driven. It's deal making essentially.
Yeah.
And you can't do that behind closed doors. You've got to get out there and shake hands. And, I have a very open door policy. And, there's times where maybe developers and I don't always see eye to eye on things. That does happen when we negotiate. But at the end of the day, we shake hands. We keep it cordial as we can be. And, I answer the phone when they call to try to solve their issues. So
I love that. I love it. So this is kind of a self-serving question a little bit, but how do you partner with chambers, schools, other key stakeholders in the community that you're proud of or want to touch on?
Our office, we work with the whole. We're a liaison to a lot of different groups, whether it be the Greater Des Moines Partnership, the Chamber, the Historic Valley Junction Foundation, various utilities, DART. I mean, we kind of are that glue that helps stick everyone together here. But
Russ's chair.
We work with you a lot, Catherine, and I'm proud to do so. I mean, I think we're very blessed. I say this a lot to you. How blessed we are to have this strong of a chamber in this community. It makes my job easier, quite honestly. Where we might falter a little bit resource-wise, you can help pick up the slack for us. So whether it be helping to sponsor events that you might have, just being that resource. If your members do have an issue with the city, we like to again be that kind of first caller, that liaison that really links the chamber to city government.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we have a close relationship. It's wonderful, and we all get along really, really well. We're all good friends, and so we all support each other, which is key and critical, I think, to making things move right to a positive direction.
The alternative isn't pleasant, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which you hear cities that have that,
right?
They don't have that relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's
critical.
part of the story too, is how well we all do work with one another. It makes the job a lot more seamless, right?
Yeah, and a lot more fun, too. So.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, so these are some of our regular segments on the Drive podcast because we're talking about driving innovation, literally driving, commuting to and fro. So this is called Commute Confessions. What's one quirky personal habit or routine that fuels your day, pun intended, but something that is like, I do this every day and it's just what I do and I love it and it helps me get started for the day or in the day. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how quirky this is. But I just with my background, I mean, I am fascinated to hear different community stories, right? So every time I travel, every time I might even go to a town 5 miles away, I just like hearing about what it is they're working on. I like seeing firsthand the projects that they've looked at. What can we glean to bring back to our community?
Cool.
That's something I might not get to do every day, but that's just something that when I go on vacation, I drag my family along to go look at downtowns and development projects, and they understand by this point, but that's just how I am. So
let's let Dad drive us around, see new things. So have you seen something in the nation or the world that you're like, we need this in West Des Moines? This would be so cool.
I think plenty of it. And I think that there's elements of what I've seen out there that could be really interesting that we could work into the Valley West Mall redevelopment too.
Nice. Okay.
Just getting that place where people can park their car once and walk around and just enjoy their time out, whether they live in that neighborhood, whether they are visiting from 60 miles away. We talk a lot about placemaking in this business now, and it used to be an economic development. You had smokestack chasing. Where you go build the industrial park and then hope that someone lands there and just try to bring industrial to your community. Now we talk a lot about how do we build that community basically that people want to live in. And when you attract talent to your community, it kind of feeds itself, right? You've got the good business climate here. You've got a good talent pipeline. The rest of it's just kind of a cycle at that point to keep things fueled.
I love that. I think that sounds like a great formula. That's amazing. Okay, fast forward. Give us your 30-second prediction on what will West Des Moines look like, let's say in 10 years, not in 5 years.
Okay.
But in 10 years, what will it look like?
I think, again, we've got a Grand Avenue corridor that's poised to absolutely explode with commercial development. And I think that that's going to be dramatically different. We're going to wish when it's all said and done, we can print more land out there to develop. So we've got a lot of eggs in that basket right now. If you've noticed, we're widening Grand Avenue.
6 lanes, right?
6 lanes from I-35 to 60th Street. Eventually, that's going to go all the way down to DMU.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we've got to put some traffic signals there.
We'll have to.
Yeah, we have to just based on the traffic load. But I think that corridor is one to look out for in the future. I think the Grand Prairie Parkway corridor is one to keep your eyes on. We're seeing a lot of development interest out there. That's, again, where the Waukee School District bought 100 acres for their third future high school site.
Yeah.
Valley West, again, all day long. Again, if we can make that be more of a neighborhood someday, I mean, that for all purposes, we call that the geographic population center of the metro. It's in a really good location. It's got a lot of bones and assets to it still, so we're excited about that as well.
Ooh, do some really cool retirement housing. Maybe my husband and I will move in there.
Housing of all spectrums, right? I mean, I've heard the mayor say too. He's like, once this gets going someday, I want to live there myself. So that's what we want that to be someday. Is a place for all.
2 condos sold already. Okay. Fun story. What was your first car? We're on the drive. What was your first car? Maybe a funny story about, your first car or second car or something.
So I had a 1987 Grand Am.
Oh,
and,
nice.
I mean, when it's all you own in the world, you take care of it, right?
Yeah.
And so at that time, I remember getting the toothbrush out and cleaning the rims. That car was absolutely immaculate.
I love that.
And I was so proud of it at the time. I remember getting my senior pictures taken with it. And my friends will, make fun of that later, because it's just a Grand Am. But at the time that meant the world to me too. So I've just always been like that too, just taking a lot of pride in the things that you do own. And it served me well. No major breakdowns, no wrecks, no crazy stories like that really, but
That's amazing. Okay, closing and takeaway. What's one piece of advice you'd like to share with the business, the community leaders about how to build a city that thrives for generations and generations?
We talked a lot about public-private partnerships, and I really do think that that's going to be the wave of the future. As maybe government resources become a little bit more constrained in the future, we're going to have to rely on, the public-private partnerships to really get things done.
Yeah.
And that's not, the nuts and bolts plowing streets and fixing potholes, but, projects like the Athene Pedestrian Bridge or the Mid-American Energy Recplex, there's those names in front of them for a reason, and we're awfully proud, to work with these businesses. We visit with them often just to see how conditions are going. What can we do better? We strive hard to, have a very business-friendly city. We've been named the most business-friendly city in the metro for 28 years in a row by the Business Record. So that's very intentional, and it starts with our elected officials. It starts with our policy, and it just it goes from the top down.
I love it. Well, you've been a huge asset to our community, and so I'm so glad that you're serving West Des Moines, and it's such an honor to know you, and I just love when we were able to get together in forums like this. This is awesome. So,
yeah, very much the same. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, for all that you do for our community. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of The Drive. We had the mayor on a couple weeks ago, so you got to watch that as well. And Ryan, thank you so much for your time and all that you do for our community and our region. So
excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you. The Drive, fast, fresh, and full of ideas for the leaders of today and tomorrow.